Hello friends, as the penultimate video of our little season for the Transitalia Marathon 2024, we present you the 5th day with bright sunshine and great pictures. Let's go! This morning we start the 5th stage in Rieti in beautiful weather, which we will finish in Rome in the afternoon on the grounds of the Italian Police Motorbike Club, which is welcoming us with a big party. They have also planned a special surprise for us.
You say you don't need me, but I'm the only one you call whenever you're lost.
After a night in which we could literally hear the hotel guests breathing above us, we decided to skip the breakfast on offer and leave very early. We will definitely find a nicer place to have breakfast on the tour. Fortunately, the weather is great, which improves our mood a lot.
Sounds like a good place to start. Your feeling seems to be left in the dark. Defeated by its
We didn't take any more pictures of Rieti yesterday, but today we got a great insight into this historic city. It is the capital of the province of the same name, and was already described as a very old city in ancient times, long before the birth of Christ. We drive through narrow alleyways to Piazza Battisti with the prefectural palace Palazzo Vincentini, framed by the elegant arcade of another 16th century palace. This square is located in the center of Rieti. The gardens in the square are often referred to as the Vignola Gardens. These gardens were once privately owned, but were later acquired by the province of Rieti, which opens them up to citizens and visitors as a public park. Our stage today starts at this beautiful location.
talking, but have you asked your heart?
We start the day relaxed and cycle through Via Roma with its shops to the breach over the Veleno River. The modern reinforced concrete bridge replaces the old Roman bridge, which was destroyed by various floods.
If you ask your heart, sounds like a good place to start.
We now continue along winding roads into the Sabine Mountains. The Monti Sabinis are the western foothills of the Apennines. In the Brazzo between the Tiber and Tirano rivers, the quiet forests of these mountains are home to ancient oak trees, some of which are over 600 years old. These ancient trees are even included in the list of Italy's monumental trees. Today we are traveling exclusively through the Lazio region. Lazio is located on the so-called Italian Knee and has a Mediterranean climate with maximum temperatures of 16 degrees in winter and 40 degrees in late summer. Even at night, the temperatures only cool down marginally. In addition to the wooded mountain ranges, Lazio is home to fertile valleys that are used for growing grain and olives. Now that we've been traveling for some time, we have to start thinking about breakfast, as we've only seen trees so far. We start to feel a little restless over the radio. In Roccaranieri, we discover a kind of combined supermarket, bakery, and bar. There is an inviting viewpoint opposite, and so we stop for a short break, which consists mainly of cola and ice cream. Here is nothing like the first meal of the day. After a half-hour break, we continue on well-maintained roads from Roccaranieri to Lago del Salto. This reservoir covers an impressive 10 square kilometers and was created in 1940 by the construction of the Salto Dam. The dam was built to generate hydroelectric power, which was of crucial importance for Italy's industrial development at the time. The damming of the Salto River flooded several small villages at a depth of 90 meters whose inhabitants were relocated to higher areas. We linger only briefly at the dam, and then make our way along the lake. across the Ponte Bello, the so-called beautiful bridge to Borgo San Pietro, and on to Petrella Salto, there is a castle there, where the Italian Count Francesco Sensi was killed by his famous daughter Beatrice and her brothers in the 16th century. This was not entirely undeserved, as the Count was not only involved in brawls and worse crimes, but also treated his 14 children extremely badly, until they took up the hammer at night. On the 9th of September 1598, the tragedy has been made into several films, and there is even an opera.
Die Nackte und der Kardinal.
After this short excursion into the world of assassins, the journey continues across the vast and deserted Aquilente Plateau in the Siciliano Mountains, which will later take us back to Lago del Salto. Piani d'Aquilente are a high plateau at around 1,150 meters above sea level. The fact that it is deserted means that you should be wary of cattle. Nevertheless, it is advisable to regularly check your rear-view mirror, as we are sporadically overtaken by our colleagues on the enduro bikes, who have set off this morning on the plain or complex variant, but are also partly routed along this track.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive.
From the plateau, the route now leads us back to Lago del Salto through small villages, some of which only have a few dozen inhabitants. The small village of Fiumata, just before the bridge over the reservoir, is probably an absolute highlight, with a large number of motorbikes decorating the village's main street. Our highlight, however, is the crossing of the Lago del Salto, which takes us over two successive bridges.
Oh, I feel so alive. As I reach out to the sky. I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day. Cause I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay. Cause I found my way.
After crossing the Lago del Salto, we leave the Siciliano Mountains and enter the Carsiolani Mountains, with peaks up to 1,800 meters high. We pass the small municipality of Rieti at 837 meters above sea level. The village was probably built in the 12th century, and has changed hands so often through wars, marriages, and donations that you could make a film about it, but we prefer to film as we wind our way further up into the mountains.
I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day. Cause I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay. Cause I found my way. Cause I found my way. My way.
after many beautiful bends in the small village of Rocca Sinibalda, more precisely in its district of Valle Cupola. At 1,000 meters above sea level, we are caught up again by the enduro bikes, which were more drawn to the gravel. The village of Rocca Sinibalda, with less than 1,000 inhabitants, lies on a hill above the Turano Valley. Its architecture, with its close connection to a castle, is characteristic of many military structures from the Middle Ages that secured individual counties. Castello Cesarini is one of the most impressive castles in the whole of Lazio and was declared an Italian national monument in 1928. Inside are frescoes from the 16th century, the restoration of which was completed in 2014. We let other enduro bikes overtake us before we are allowed to cross the edge of the Monte of Guinea Nature Reserve. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to ride up the 1,500-meter high Monte Naiviena in the 3,500-hectare Nature Reserve. But even so, we enjoy the view of the mountain, hill, and valley landscapes, with numerous streams and waterways. The limestone soil is dominated by beech trees. The forests are roamed by wolves, wild boar, red deer, and the so-called lesser rhinoceros. However, before we put our foot on the brakes, just in case, it should be noted that this is a bat species that is unfortunately threatened with extinction. We also did not experience any attacks by other inhabitants of the area, such as eagles or falcons. After more than 2 hours and a very Spartan breakfast break, we are slowly but surely getting hungry. A small medieval town on a beautiful lake is the perfect place to stop. Fortunately, we are soon in Castel di Tora on Lago del Turano. We now reach Lago del Turano, on the shore of which we stop for lunch on a high cliff. The lake lies at an altitude of 536 meters above sea level and was dammed up until 1938. The reservoir was built to regulate the Turano River and produce electricity for the industrial plants in nearby Terni. The construction of the reservoir meant that most farmers lost their fertile land, and many families left the valley. Interestingly, Lago del Turano and Lago del Salto are connected by a 9-kilometer tunnel nowadays. The shores along the lake are dotted with restaurants and beach clubs. The small medieval town with its narrow alleyways lies on a cliff above Lago del Turano, and a horde of motorbikes now descends on the quiet alleyways and squares. With fewer than 300 inhabitants, they are certainly not used to the crowds. Here, the village lies on a peninsula in the reservoir through which the Turano River flows, and is centered around a medieval castle that was first mentioned in 1035 Anno Domini. The small village was often used in Italian films when a medieval setting was required. We are about to have a delicious lunch in the small restaurant on the right, L'Osteria de Bacco. Frank and Angelica have discovered the little L'Osteria di Bacco for us, and we are delighted when we discover the tiny terrace tacked onto the rock. We have to wait a while for our food, because the landlady doesn't get this many people every day, but that's not a bad thing, as it gives us more time to enjoy the magnificent view. After a very tasty lunch, we remember that we still want to go to Rome today and get back on our bikes. We have only covered about half of the 200 kilometers of today's stage. From Castel di Tora on the beautiful Lago del Salto, we set off southwards again. Our route will take us through small towns to the Riservatara della Marchigliana, the Marchigliana Nature Reserve. Although we will lose more and more altitude in the long term, we will continue into the mountains for the time being, however. Several nature reserves along the way promise great scenery again. After the small municipality of Poggio Moiano Mibai, the winding route takes us through the Monte Lucratelli Regional Nature Park in the mountains of the same name, at up to 1,300 meters above sea level. Although it is only 30 kilometers to the capital Rome, the park still has many wooded areas, among which magnificent beech forests stand out. The small town of Montorio Romano awaits us with a typically Italian ambience, in contrast to Germany. You can still experience an uninhibited approach to our heavy machines here. Or have you ever seen children on the street offering you a fist bump, while their mum stands relaxed next to you? We have experienced this more often in Italy. If you think away the modern cars, you get the impression that time has stood still here. Here life takes place much more on the street, and we receive a friendly welcome. On the last few kilometers towards our destination in Rome, a little regret about the imminent end of the tour mixes with the expectation that the later night ride through Rome will be an unforgettable experience. Finish. We have arrived on the grounds of the Rome Police Motorbike Club. The State Police Sports Center in Tor di Quinto welcomes us, together with the organizers of the Transitalia Marathon, the Motai Club Strade Bianche in Moto e CSD, Of course, we are all given a medal to hang around our necks or motorbikes and enjoy a great reception. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to take the fast police car with us, or at least test ride it. After a dinner together with lots of music and spectacle, the 400 participants of the tour will explore the nocturnal center of the capital in the company of 2,000 Roman motorcyclists. We will pass the most important monuments, ride through restricted areas and pedestrian zones. We will be escorted by the state police, and no junction or red light will stop our journey. Great! You can experience this extraordinary night run and our impressions of the return journey to Germany in our next and last video from the Transitalia Marathon. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you liked our video, we look forward to seeing you again.